me why Andi Mack takes place in Sunnyside, a fictional place in the Midwest, and still had better diversity than New York freaking City and the Girl Meets World verse. We thought Girl Meets World was mature. We thought wrong. We thought so freaking wrong. I just love Bowie. Bowie's like husband goals, like boyfriend goals to be in a sense. I just truly love him. Also because I think that man is like really beautiful. Amber is the best character. No, she's not my favorite character. I'm not saying she's a good person, but she's the best character because Secret Life of the American Teenager is a disgrace. I only watched one episode of that mess when I was younger. I hated every little bit of it. And I am back with another video. Hello, my name is Harriyanna, and I am the captain. You is not my first mate. You got that through your brain? You got that through your brain? Let's go back. Let's go see. I got a second mate. I got 3 second mates to be exact. I got a third mate. I got a fourth mate. I got a fifth mate. I even got a 12th mate. But no one is worthy of being first. Remember that. All I gotta be leaving little comments talking about, I'm the first mate. You're not the first mate. You're not funny. Hello, you're new here. Hello, my name is Harriyanna, and I like to make content based off nostalgia and family and children's entertainment and all the issues that I usually find within those spaces. But before we can get into today's details on what we're just going to be talking about, because I know y'all saw that title and was like, let's discuss. Today's video is sponsored. Today's video is sponsored by BGL Jewelry. BGL Jewelry, also known as Black Girl Magic Jewelry, is a black-owned company that sells accessories. They sell super duper cute stuff. Like, come look at this. Look at these. This is my favorite piece right here. It is, excuse my nails. We're gonna cover that up. If you guys can see. Super, super pretty. They sent me these also really cute earrings. And the thing about these is that one big issue that I have a lot of times when it comes to like bamboo earrings and things like that is they always kind of fall off my ears and things like that, but I'm not having that issue right here. And then they also sent me 2 really cute hair clips, and I really like these. I actually been looking for a hair clip like this. I really like the one at the top that says poppin' because I am poppin'. I am that, okay? If you guys are interested in any of these products down below or anything else that they have, go have that link down below, and I'll also have their Instagram link down below for you guys to check out. And they also are having a 20% off everything sale going on right now. So yes, please go support BGL Jewelry. Moving on, I have a Patreon. Please go support me on that. I post a lot of exclusive behind the scenes content over there, and you do get access to my Discord server. And last but not least, please go support my web series called The Progenies. I will have all of the stuff to everything that I mentioned before down below. Now let's go. Let's take a look at the outline, okay? You know what? We're just going to keep using the laptop for the outline. The phone is just too small to look at, and it really strains my eyes. So what is first on today's agenda? Okay, here we go. I get plenty of comments asking about Andi Mack. You guys ask me, do I like it? Have I seen it? How do I feel about the overall premise of the show? For the most part, I do like Andi Mack. The answer is both to those questions. The answer to both of those questions is yes. Yes, I do like Andi Mack, and yes, I've seen it. But every time I think of this show, I think about my early college days, because I remember, I'm still in college, by the way, okay, y'all? I'm still in college, okay? I'm not that young as y'all think I am, but I'm not that old as some of y'all think I am, too. During my freshman year of college and my sophomore year of college, those were like 2 big periods of change for me, and I don't know, it's just I always think about that time period, because I remember every time I'm done with like school for the week and I didn't have to work on the weekends. I usually count Friday as the weekend, because you know in college a lot of people's last day is Thursday. I would always come home and watch the new episode of Andi Mack, or if I missed it the previous week, I'd sit there and catch up. Super duper excited. Like I said, I wasn't really like one that could like really do much of anything, like being like growing up in like a really sheltered environment. So I really did enjoy just watching Friday night TV, okay? I really enjoyed it. Now, Andi Mack was released after Girl Meets World's cancellation, which was also a big part of my life too, as Girl Meets World was like my thing that I was really, really interested in high school. Aside from Descendants, we're not going to talk about that. But like, I was legit obsessed with this show. I was obsessed with both Girl Meets World and Andi Mack. And like I've mentioned before, Girl Meets World's a hot mess, okay? We all are aware that Girl Meets World is a hot mess. I made a video in the past just talking about all the issues that really kind of happened with that show when it came to diversity and things like that. But I will just make a full-on in-depth video about everything that happened in that series, because it's just beyond that at that point. It's beyond bad diversity and stuff like that. It gets worse. But I know plenty of y'all just clicked on this video just to hear me talk about me compare the two. So I will put a timestamp link down below for you guys to check out, where I talk about why the two compare and why one work and one don't. Both of these shows often get compared to each other because they're both about a young girl between the ages of 11 to 14 trying to find her place in the world. And the shows also have very similar storylines. But I will go ahead and tell y'all this. I like Andi Mack. I think it's a pretty good show, like by Disney Channel standards. It ain't perfect, okay? This show does have issues. It does have issues. It's not perfect all the time, but it's still a pretty good show. Now, for those of you guys who don't know what Andi Mack is, because a lot of y'all watch me and don't be knowing what I be talking about, Andi Mack is a Disney Channel series that ran from 2017 to 2019. Now, that's not really a long time. The show really only had like a 2-year run. So that actually really surprised me. That it's weird because college feels like the longest time of your life, but also when you look back at it, you realize, that actually wasn't that long of a time. The show is a coming-age tale of a girl named Andi who discovers that the woman that she always known to be her older sister is actually her mother. This is the first time I ever really saw like a teen mom storyline on Disney. Don't y'all mention the secret life of the American teenager. The secret life of the American teenager is a disgrace. I only watched one episode of that mess when I was younger. I hated every little bit of it. And we're not talking about that because it's technically Disney property, but that show was really bad. Anyway, but I really like the way the teen mom storyline here was done. Because usually on TV, when it has to do with like teen pregnancy, we really just see it like in the early stages when the person becomes pregnant and the child is still very young. They don't really age no more than about 4 or 5, or it just shifts into the entire future where they always knew their mother was a teen mom. But here, Andi learns that her mother, she learns who her real mother is while she is a whole teenage girl. And I found out, like, from doing my research and everything, like I was talking to a friend about it yesterday, and then I looked up online. This really happens in real life where teens have kids and they don't raise them, and they're raised by somebody else, and they're taught to believe that that is their mother. Aside from Andi dealing with her family situation, she also is dealing with the difficulties of Jonah Beck, okay? He is one of the most frustrating characters ever. She even said that herself in Andi's words. He's frustrating. She's dealing with her crush that turns into her boyfriend. She's also dealing with his ex-girlfriend, Amber, who later becomes her friend, and then her 2 other best friends who have problems of their own. So it's a cute little, nice little slice of life show. They're dealing with school, sports, family problems, you know, the typical middle schooler and high school stuff right there. And also, it's a show that Disney has that acknowledges that gay kids and mental illness exists. It's great that Disney is finally acknowledging that these things are here and they're here to stay, okay? They're not going anywhere. So I really enjoyed how Andi Mack, it felt like this was like a new step in Disney's direction for their type of audience and the type of content that they were making. So I really do appreciate that. And another thing I noticed how Disney is kind of getting away with more of this, because Andi Mack did receive a lot of backlash, is that they've been putting a lot more of their mature content on Disney Plus instead of Disney Channel. That's why High School Musical, the musical series, did so well in a sense. And I felt like if the streaming service was a thing back then, Andi Mack would have done so much better. So compared to everything else that was on Disney Channel at the time when the show came out, it was mature. It was the most mature thing we've had since about Lizzie McGuire. Lizzie McGuire had a bit of mature aspects in there. We thought Girl Miss World was mature. We thought wrong. We thought so freaking wrong. It has been brought to my attention that plenty of people have been talking about how they can't stream all the, like, you know, the full series on Disney Plus. So for the sake of this video, I did buy the series on YouTube to watch so I can give you guys the full authentic analysis of Andi Mack, because I feel like it wouldn't have been right if I just sat there and did that. And the reason why Disney has decided not to put up all the episodes is because there was a crime committed by the actor who played Andy's grandfather that I will not say. If you're curious, go look it up. I will not say that for the sake of that child's safety and everything. I don't want to feel like I am putting them on the spot or anything like that. Because of that crime that man committed, Disney thought it would be best to remove his episodes from the show. And it was a lot, and one thing about it is that a lot of those episodes played a significant factor into the show's plot. So it just didn't feel right for me to just do it like that. But we will not be acknowledging that man no more in this video. We will not even talk about his character. We'll just act like he just doesn't exist. No, you gotta refresh your memory of the show when you review it or when you talk about it and whatnot. So, you know, I refresh my memory. And so y'all know what my favorite part of all these videos is. We're getting into character talk. I freaking adore character talk. If you know me, you know character talk. It's my favorite. Now, we ain't talking about every single last freaking character in here because this show had a colorful bouquet of characters that always entertained me every time they came and left and whatever. But we will not be talking about all of them for the sake of time, okay? Sake of time, energy, and also, y'all know I'm still taking it pretty easy. Ooh, okay. Like, Andi Mack is one of those few shows where I don't really hate any of the characters because they're all people. They're just people with problems. Every single last person in this show, I don't think anyone was technically a bad person in general. Like, yes, they did do horrible things from time to time, but I have to remember how young a lot of these kids were and how they had time to grow as people. And literally, all of them did grow as people. So I technically didn't hate a lot of these characters. I did dislike them from time to time because certain things they did, but I didn't flat out just dislike them. Like, the fans hate certain characters of the show. I'm just like, okay, but yeah, we're gonna go straight into it. We're gonna start with the title character herself, Andi Mack. Y'all, Andi just needed to learn how to breathe. Andi really just needed to learn how to breathe, okay, in a sense. It's like sis was always uptight about everything, and I just wanted her to chill out more. Like, Andi was just always so worrisome about every little thing, and she overthought everything, and that just kind of really brought the worst out in her. And I'm not an Andi hater, by the way, because there are so many people that watched this show, that were fans of this show, that strongly despised Andi, and I didn't dislike Andi, but I didn't like a lot of the things she did, but I strongly didn't dislike her, though. Some people were just being really, really mean. Andi was just not the best about being open about how she truly felt about a lot of things going on with her life and her thoughts and her feelings, and it really hurt her in the end. I think Andi is a pretty good, strong protagonist. Like, she wasn't a bad person. She just had a lot of trouble communicating with people, and that was like her main issue that I'm glad she did kind of work out a little bit towards the end. She still had a lot of issues, but for the most part, Andi, like, everybody loves to bring up the part of the show where Andi got like really, really whiny and things like that, and I was like, she did bring a lot of that hurt upon herself because she has problems with communicating. But moving on to Andi, we're going into Buffy. Buffy was Andi's best female friend. I love Buffy. Buffy was a scene stealer, but I have lots of words to say about Buffy's character because, like I said, I'm tired of the black girl in pain. I think Buffy just went through it so much in this show. She deserves her own video, okay? She deserves her own freaking video. Because Buffy was just kind of always there for everybody and their problems, but when it came to her and her happiness or whatever, she just kind of had to suffer a little bit. And I think that's where a lot of people do have a lot of issues when it comes to Andi and things like that, but they did work it out in the end and whatever. But it's frustrating. I'm just gonna have to sit aside and just make an entire video just debunking Buffy's character, because that is just a topic of its own. But like I said, Buffy is an amazing best friend to both Cyrus and Andy. She was just always there for them, the right-hand man. The best way to discover Buffy is, one thing I really liked about her is she was a ride or die for Andy. She was one of those girls that's like, if my best friend don't like you, I don't like you. That's how you know Buffy is about her business when it comes to be her BFFs. And I really appreciate that about her. Moving on to Amber, the best character. Amber is the best character. No, she's not my favorite character. I'm not saying she's a good person, but she's the best character because she had the best character development. There literally is a whole long video on YouTube that literally just show Amber's character development. Okay, Amber, Shane Stiller. Okay, Emily Skinner, talented. Sis is talented, okay? Emily Skinner deserves her props for playing Amber on Andi Mack. Sis was great, okay? She deserves her props, okay? She deserves her props, okay? And one thing I was talking about, like Amber's character development, is that this ain't no Ant Farm. This ain't no Shake It Up where the show is very cartoony and out there, where the villain got to be bad all the time. This is a very slice of life show. So it didn't surprise me when they decided to go this route with Amber, with making her redeemable and more likable. And we actually saw that she was a person, where she was having problems with her family. They was having problems with their financial situation, to where she had to take on a job. She got better friends. She learned how to actually communicate with people. She stopped being rude. She was still a little bit rude, but she got so much better. Okay, and she also was Jonah's ex-girlfriend. That's another factor that played into Amber. Okay, people will love to talk about how they just don't like how Amber had a redemption arc, but like I mentioned, this is a slice of life show. People change, and I think that's just kind of one thing a lot of people in our generation kind of don't really want to accept, is that people can change for the better. And people have to remember, Amber was only like 14, 15 years old. She was pretty young, and she still had time to learn and grow, okay? It's not like Amber was like 21 and she was doing all this. It's Amber was a grown adult and she was acting the way she did, and then they tried to redeem her. Yeah, I would have been really upset, but Amber was a whole child, okay? Let that little girl be redeemed. Let her little child be redeemed, okay? It's not like she was out here pulling a Lazula trying to murder people. Okay? It's not the same. Overall, Amber was just a really sad, lonely girl. And the show kind of fixed that a little bit for her. We saw that she finally got love that she deserved. Let's just say that. Let's just go ahead and end it on that mark. Cyrus, loved him. We all love him. And Cyrus is that one character on Andi Mack that I think everybody likes when we talk about this series. He's just so lovable. He's just so sweet. I just freaking adore him. He was the peacemaker of the group, okay? And he didn't like conflict, though. That's why I thought he was the peacemaker, because I remember this one particular episode that I really, really do like, where he is warming up a bit to Amber, and he basically didn't like how Buffy, you know, Buffy, his ride or die, he didn't like how they like to bicker and argue and all that, and he did bring them together to where they weren't so mean and bitter towards each other. So I love Cyrus. He always just kind of wanted peace, but he did have issues with communication like Andy did, where a lot of stuff messed up on his part, but he was a lot better at communicating than he was when it came to Andy, okay? Like when Cyrus got in a pickle, he worked that mess out to a certain extent. Sometimes he just kind of made stuff a little worse on his part, but that's one thing, like with Andy and Cyrus, is that Cyrus was scared about the way he felt, same with Andy, but he was a lot better about going about it and finding solutions and things like that. He also was really, really funny, okay? I think Cyrus had one of the best one-liners in this show. Some of the best one-liners, not one of the best one-liners. Girl, run that back, run that back. But overall, I think Cyrus was a pretty likable character. I truly enjoyed his time on this show, mainly because Joshua Rush is just funny, okay? Love him. Funny, funny kid. TJ came a long way. TJ came a long, long way. Like I said, I don't dislike any of these characters in this show, but he really did annoy me, okay? Especially like when he was first introduced and him and Buffy used to bicker back and forth, which was pretty funny, I'm not gonna lie. The way he treated them was just not it, but he was able to warm up to Cyrus, and I thought it was really beautiful to watch him and Cyrus, like, they just kind of like, he's like, why are you talking to me in the first place? And they grew a friendship bond, which I thought was really, really nice, and it turned into a nice little relationship in the end. So I thought that was really, really nice. It's like TJ is kind of like the boy version of Amber, in my opinion, when it comes to the series structure of how they all both started out bad and then they ended up becoming better in the end. He was just a sad, lonely boy. He needed help with school. He didn't really have any friends. He had anger issues. He was just a sad, lonely boy that just kind of needed a good friend. And I think that low-key is kind of like the moral of Andi Mack overall. Sometimes you just need a really good friend, okay? That don't mean treat your friends like trash. But, you know, we all deserve a good friend. We all do. Okay? But some of y'all don't deserve y'all friends. Okay? I'm going off topic. But, like, some of y'all don't deserve y'all friends. Y'all be talking about y'all want a friend to do this and that to do. Think about how you're treating your friends. Okay? Think about how you're treating the people around you. Okay? Don't complain about your friends falling off with you, but you don't want to consider how you treated them. Okay? We got off topic, off topic, off topic. Next, we're going to Beck. Beck, the coolest mom ever. Moving on to Bowie. I'm putting Bex and Bowie in the same hole because they kind of just had the same arc to me. Coolest dad ever, okay? Beck is basically the woman who was always told to be Andi's cool older sister, when she actually was her mother, and Bowie is her father. Now, neither of these people raised Andi. They didn't really start taking care of Andi until she was about 13 years old, after they finally revealed to her how old she was. But like I said, I put them together because they honestly really just had the same arc. Adults doing what they love and trying to make a living off of it. Both of them are just pretty likable characters. One thing in particular that I really can't stand this in real life, where people wait until their kids are like teenagers or grown to finally start taking care of them and whatnot. But here they genuinely cared about her. Like, Bex took the initiative, was like, I want Andi to live with me and no longer with you, Cece. We're going to get to Cece in a minute because Cece, I have some words about her, but I really do appreciate how Bex was like, I want Andi to live with me. She's my daughter, and it's time that I step up and take the responsibility of raising her properly. I did not do any of that while she was young, and I don't want to miss out on her teen years. So I really loved how she just kind of took the initiative to make sure Andi was her own, and Bowie did step in to co-parent from time to time before, you know, they officially got back together and things like that. And he moved in with them and everything. I just truly appreciate how they really wanted to be there for their daughter. Like, because I know when it comes to like a lot of teen parents and they have like the deadbeat dad or male figure in the life, I really love how Bowie was happy about the fact that he had a daughter. He loved Andi. He wanted to do everything for her. Like, when he found out she was there, he was like, yeah, I want to be here for her. I love my child. I just met her. I don't care. I just love Bowie. Bowie's like husband goals, like boyfriend goals to be in a sense. I just truly love him. Also, because I think that man is like really beautiful. He's just really fine in my opinion. Okay, I know he married and everything, but still, he's really beautiful. Okay, and last but not least, we're getting into Cece. Cece, I ain't gonna lie, she reminds me a lot of my own mother, so that's probably why when I saw her character was just kind of very frustrating for me in a sense. She was just a very overprotective mother. She just kind of really wanted the best for Andi, because, you know, Andi was taught to believe that Cece was her mother up until she was 13 years old. And the reason that they call her Cece is because, you know, she was like, well, it's weird to call you my grandma. I never really knew you as my grandma, so you're just going to be known as Cece to me. Like, Cece reminds me a lot of my mother in a sense. Like I said, her being very overprotective, and we learned that the reason why Cece was so overprotective because of how rebellious that Bex was. And, you know, Bex ended up getting pregnant as a teenager, and she just felt like, I just can't with you anymore. So she just really wanted the best for Andi, because she just didn't want her turning into another Beck. And everything she did was out of love, but in a sense it was just a little too much love, to the point where it just kind of became frustrating. But I do enjoy the arc that Cece went on, where down the line she became less strict on Andi and Bex, and she just lightened up a little bit. So I really do enjoy how literally everyone in this show grew. everyone grew. Like, they're not the same. Like, the people that we meet in the pilot, they are not the same people that we meet in the series finale. They're completely different. They've all changed in some kind of way, and I thought that was the beautiful nature of the show, because the show really kind of only takes place over the span of like 1.5 years, I think. Because I know the kids were only like 2 different ages. So I'd say about like 1.5 years. And you can change a lot within that time period. And I just love that. Like, literally no one stayed the same. Everyone changed a little bit. Hello to everybody that skipped to this part of the video. How you doing? How you doing? We're gonna go ahead and get into it. Let's go. Why does Andi Mack work, but why doesn't Girl Meets World work? Okay, we're gonna go ahead and begin, because the main reason, like I mentioned earlier, why these 2 shows get compared so often is because they're both about middle school girls that come of age on Disney Channel. I feel like if they weren't in the Disney Channel aspect, they really wouldn't get compared like that. But let's go, okay? It's kind of like, one thing I figured out with the structure of Andi Mack, people kept saying it felt like an ABC Family show, but it wasn't. I realized Disney Plus is where all those shows that want to meet that minimum go. It's not ABC Family enough. I'm sorry. Freeform, you gotta call them by their new legal government name. We respect people's new names over here. Or Disney Channel, you put them together, it's just Disney Plus. Moving on. Diversity. Girl Meets World makes no sense of why it takes place in New York and it has that bad of diversity where it's mainly just white people. Please tell me why Andi Mack takes place in Sunnyside, a fictional place in the Midwest, and still had better diversity than New York freaking City and the Girl Meets World verse. Somebody please understand that. Please help me understand that, because it's not clicking. It's not ringing a bell for me, Disney. Please do the geographical whatever you need to do when it comes to where you pick out the locations for your shows, because it makes no sense why a place in the Midwest has better diversity than one of the most diverse cities in the United States. It makes no freaking sense. Like, also, the diversity wasn't perfect, though. I'm saying that because colorism is a bit of an issue, because all the people of color in this show are light-skinned and or biracial. So that is a bit of the issue, but compared to Girl Meets World, it's way better diversity, okay? It's Disney Channel, I'll take it. Next, we're moving into another reason why it works and why it doesn't. Format, okay? Andi Mack was a single camera show. Girl Meets World was a multi-camera show, okay? They were both sitcoms in a sense, but you know, the camera work and everything. I'm over multi-camera shows in this day and age. The only one I really watch like that at the moment is Sydney to the Max. It's just, they look really cheap and overdone, and it just don't do it for me. Also, another factor that goes into why Andi Mack works and Girl Meets World doesn't is because of the laugh track. I'm sorry, I can't stand laugh track. Laugh tracks just need to die. I just really don't like them. That just needs to be done with, because the problem with Girl Meets World is that the laugh track was overdone. It was played during serious moments sometimes where the show, like I said, the show be trying too hard to be deep sometimes. We're gonna get into that. The show tried too hard to be deep, and then they would have laugh tracks in and out during the serious moments, and I'm just like, it just kind of ruined that overall. And it feels like it was forcing you to laugh, because like I mentioned, they would have a really, really sad moment, and then they'll have that laugh track coming in and out, and I'm just like, that's not how you do it. That is not how you do it. Where Andi Mack, it didn't feel like they were trying to force jokes every now and then, and it also contributed to why the show had a bit of better pacing, because like I said, the laugh track just kind of killed everything, because you were like, wait a minute, it was supposed to go like that. But with Andi Mack, no laugh tracks, and all the jokes just kind of like naturally flowed. It doesn't feel like the team behind the show was trying to force us to get a laugh. Next, like I mentioned, I already started talking about better pacing. Andi Mack took its time, and it actually went somewhere with it, okay? It took its time and it went somewhere, okay? Girl Meets World literally jumped all over the place in the end just to result in nothing. And nothing. The only real change in the show that I really saw was Farkle. Everyone else, it was just they kept jumping back and forth to the point where it made no sense. Now that I think about it, I didn't really care too much for Girl Meets World. I just like Lucaya, okay? I like the fan fiction. I love the Girl Meets World fan fiction. I like Lucas and Maya's relationship and dynamic. I realized that's it. Now that I think about it, I don't really care. I cared about Farkle. I cared about Maya. And I only cared about Lucas when he was related to her, and I cared about Zay. Girl Meets World, the show alone, Ooh, no. Let's go back into it. Better characters, because we're getting right into that. Better characters, okay? In Girl Meets World, they did not feel like humans, okay? They did not feel like humans. Everyone just kind of felt like a trope in a sense when it comes to Girl Meets World. You have the weird kid, you have the quirky girl that everybody has a crush on, you have her cool best friend, you have the black kid. Yes, that's a trope. That's a trope, okay? You have the token black kid, and they're all trying to find their way in the world. Nobody felt really human in a sense. Like, I love Maya Hart, but I'm going to say it, she didn't really feel kind of real. So many of them were really unlikable too, okay? Like I said, everybody in Andi Mack got on my nerves at some point. I love Cyrus, but he got on my freaking nerves. I love Buffy, but she got on my freaking nerves too. They in Girl Meets World all did stuff that was just kind of like make you want to roll your eyes, because I'm like, this ain't it. It's not real. It doesn't feel like a real life situation, okay? Moving on to life lessons, as we know, this is kind of like my problem I had with the Loud House. If you watch my Loud House stream, go watch that, okay? That was one of my best streams that I have to date. Andi Mack just lets the show sit for a moment, okay? It just let the show sit for a moment, while Girl Meets World was literally trying to shove some lesson down our throats every single episode, where Andi Mack just let it sit, okay? Because Girl Meets World, it really came off across as like PSAE, which isn't really a bad thing in a sense. But like I mentioned, Andi Mack, when it got to their life lessons, they came across a lot better because they took their time with them. They just took their time with them, where you're trying to force a lesson in a short amount of time, it doesn't really feel realistic in a sense. Because Girl Meets World is not one of those shows where everything is reversed in the next episode. No, it's a consistent plot going on throughout the series, where Andi Mack, it's the same structure where the kids are just doing stuff, but certain factors play into the ongoing storyline. Girl Meets World did have that too, but they were always trying to do that lesson in every single episode when they were trying to have a consistent storyline, and it really just kind of messed up the flow of the show. And also here, they take the time to let the kids figure out on their own, where Girl Meets World, an adult will always come in and try to fix the situation. And sometimes adults just need to stop butting into kids' business and just let them figure out on their own. And in Andi Mack, the kids figured out a lot of their problems on their own. Yes, when they did need to talk to adults, they did that. But when it came to the problems they had with themselves, they were like, it's best if we just handle it alone. And that's a part of growing up too. You can't always depend on adults for every single little last thing that goes wrong in your life. Because Riley always ran to her dad and her mom and everybody about everything. And it really just kind of ruined growth, okay? You have to figure things out on your own and with people your own age to grow, okay? So overall, Andi Mack just was better about getting their messages across about just kids living in this world. They just got it off across a lot better than Girl Meets World did, because Girl Meets World was just trying so hard to be deep to the point where it wasn't working. And the thing about it is that you cannot try so hard to be deep in a multi-camera sitcom with a cheap looking set. It just doesn't come off across right. Especially this day and age. It kind of worked back in the 2000s, but like nowadays, we're just kind of over it in a sense. It was just too over the top, too wacky. The laugh track messed everything up. The characters were frustrating. It just don't work no more. But like I'm saying, I liked the Girl Meets World. I'm not going to sit here and pretend like I didn't like the show. I loved the show growing up, but I'm allowed to point out its flaws. It's not perfect. And I'm going to be real with y'all. I still like Girl Meets World, okay? I still like it. I will own up to it and say it's not perfect, but I do genuinely like the show. And I will make that video one day just going in detail about what exactly happened in the show, because the show wasn't all around bad. When it was good, but it was so much bad in there, it just kind of outweighed it. So that is it for this little rant. Please, if you liked it, give it a like, comment, subscribe, you know, the whole nine, everything. Make sure you guys go to harriyannahook.com to sign up for the email list, because I will be launching my merch line soon. Super duper excited for that. Like I mentioned, I have this Patreon if you'd like to give me a little tip for my work. I have a buy me a coffee if you guys want to give me a little tip. Appreciate that. Please go follow me on everything at Harriyanna on Tumblr, Pinterest, Wattpad, Twitter, Tumblr, Instagram. Everything is at Harriyanna. I love you guys so much. Thank you guys so much for watching. I truly do appreciate everything. Love you guys. Don't forget to shop for Don't forget to shop with the company I sponsored today, BGL Jewelry. All will be linked down below. I thank you guys so much again. Love you guys and have a good night.
3 at a time. Bubbles will smile while kicking your butt, and Blossom will lead them out of their rut. Cherish and Powerpuff, 2 of a kind.